all the comic fans, Marvel geeks, and all the nerds in between. Welcome to another episode of the Vigilante Vibes podcast, where we talk all things Marvel, along with other fandoms, but without the toxicity that's taken up way too much space in each and every fandom. I'm your host, Megan Nicole, and we're here to have another episode of Elevating the Nerdy Voices of the Rainbow, where we lift up the voices of the LGBTQ plus communities. Today joining me, I am so excited. I have a very special guest. I have Juan with Up With the Sun on YouTube, who spreads positivity constantly while celebrating pop culture and sharing his New York life experiences.
Thank you so much for having me, Megan. I really appreciate it.
I'm so excited you're here. Everything I've seen from you has just been just so kind, so positive, never a dull moment, never a negative moment. Can you tell us a little bit about you?
Yes, like you said, my name is Juan, and I do have a YouTube channel called Up With the Sun. And I actually love that you put like the infliction in the Juan. That is a first, and I love it. um,
My best friend, he's a Mexican man.
yes.
So like every time I read a name that's usually Hispanic, it does that automatically. And he's like, "Why do you do that? My name is Dwight." I'm like, I think it's because your mom does it. I don't know.
I know, that's so funny. Well, I'm originally from Southern California. I'm from San
Hmm.
Diego specifically, but I've kind of lived all over. My family had like this little vagabond street where we're like, we're gonna move here. Like, I went to high school in Dallas, Texas, um, and then come the pandemic, I was a dance instructor for a long time, and so come the pandemic, my that had to like sunset because you can't touch people,
Yeah.
social distancing. Um,
Yeah.
so it just got to a point where like being in at my parents' house at home, that there needed to be a point where like I kind of like launched into something else. Another opportunity came up, and that's how I made my way to New York City, summer of 2020. So July 2020, I moved to New York City, and between that time, I actually started my YouTube channel, which is named Up with the Sun, and it's named that because I wanted to inject some positivity out there, where people, we were all in such a funky space, and because of that, I wanted to create a space where people can just like geek out and, share some little blips of joy going forward. So that's really the birth of how my channel started. And at the same time, I was being very inspired by a bunch of like Funko Pop collectors. So one of my things that I really love doing on my channel is sharing my collection and sharing just pop culture merchandise in general that speak to me, uh, and sharing that with everybody else who enjoys the same stuff. It did start off with Disney merchandise because I used to have an annual pass to Disney, and that took off and it did its own thing. But as I got like more comfortable with sharing multitudes of what I'm interested in, then my collection and what I bring to my channel obviously evolved as well.
You do have so many cool Funkos. I'm a huge Funko collector myself, so I watch you and I'm like, oh, it's just, it's so beautiful.
Ah,
What's your favorite Funko right now that you have?
ooh, okay. Dang, that's really hard because they're all my
I know it's like
babies.
choosing your favorite
Yeah, they're
child.
all my babies. I don't have children, but they're my babies. I don't even have a dog. Okay, so by default, my Funkos become my children. Right now, I'm really. I try to like. I used to be based on like the value, like what's the value of this pop or whatever. I really love my Keith Haring Funko Pop because it's an artist series pop. It was the
Cute.
first one, and Keith Haring is really inspirational to me as a queer person, and I just love that. Like that was like I think that was like the number one in the artist series. You can fact check me on that, but I just love that they put that out there, and that's kind of like what I love about Funko at the beginning is that they were open to embracing the queer community, and they are not they make everything under the sun, and so for them not to like edit like what they actually produce was a really wonderful thing to see. One of my earliest videos on my YouTube channel is a Funko collection based on just all the queer characters and people related to Funko, in Funko form, I should say. So I would say the Keith
Aw.
Haring one, just because. kind of being in New York now, I get to go see his work in person, and it's really inspirational because he had such a great message in his very short life. Because he did die of,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
AIDS. So unfortunately,
AIDS.
you know how that happens. No, I know.
It's
But that's like that was the sad truth. But like he had such an impact in such a small amount of time that he was here, and I think that's like a big takeaway from his work.
okay. So I expect you to be like Nightcrawler, Superman, and you gave me such a beautiful
Well,
answer.
it's Pride Month, so I understand you're doing a
True.
wonderful series on
Yes.
highlighting queer characters and fandom. And you started out that wonderful video with Wiccan, which I love. I
Yes.
still have not gotten that pop. I was so happily surprised it sold out so fast in
Yeah.
stores and the Funko Shop. Like I can't find it. I'm gonna have to buy it,
I
later.
I can't even, I've been looking and looking,
Yeah,
and I like finding them. I don't like going on like Amazon.
right.
I like the search.
Yeah, the hunt.
It's yes, and I can't find it anywhere, but I see all you bastards posting it saying, "Look what I got." And it's just like I could give it such a better life. No offense, guys, but
Absolutely. You could go right next to my Wanda. You could go right next to my first season Agatha Harkness. Like, it's wonderful. I'm waiting for them to do like Marvel comic book character versions of them. Wiccan and Hulkling.
that would be
That would be
cool.
amazing. I actually have a pins here featuring them. I love That's another thing. As part of my collecting expanded to pins. So I'm at a point right now where like I will support independent artists, who will create those things for you. Because honestly, as a community, queer people don't get a lot of merchandise that is not all rainbows.
Okay, I've noticed that. I because there have been times I've looked up a character or something and like America Chavez,
Yes.
and I'm like, I want to like see what I can find of her, but it's all rainbows, and I'm like, you know, the rainbow doesn't only mean gay. Like
Yeah, like this.
we can
We could
just
just
you can just give me the
yeah,
character.
the character themselves already queer. Like I don't need like to like have them to have a great like. I know Funko does that line, their pride lines, where like they just like rainbow out a character and completely destroy any kind of detail that's on that pop. Um,
I have the Deadpool one,
it's just
yeah.
like what's happening here, So it's just like a
They really do. They did that with Deadpool. I have it, and
uh,
they're like, "You like Deadpool? Just throw a rainbow on it. That's all you
he's
need.
he's
Nothing else."
Pan.
And it's
You
like
got this, right?
they don't even care how he's sitting. They care about
Yeah,
nothing.
they do
They're like,
not make
"There's
a
just
separate mold
rainbow."
whatsoever for it. They're like, let's just reuse this one, and boom, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think that's the foray into like Funko Pop collecting is like you actually become more discerning, and now in your Funko collection because there's so many different iterations of that character. So because of that, you're just like, I need five of this version of the same person, or I can just pick one, or like, oh, that would be cool if they are the special edition, but like, I hate that pose.
there are there are a few like Deadpool. I'm like, I don't need Deadpool in a bathrobe.
Yeah,
Like I'm good
yeah,
on that. But then I see one like of Gwen Stacy or Spider
yeah,
Gwen. I need it. I need every single one of
right.
them. I don't care. But then Spider Man, it's like, why do I have one of him in a Christmas sweater? Why did I do that?
Because it adds to the ambiance of Christmas.
It's out all year long.
Yeah.
It's just like Megan,
A lot
why?
of a lot of those seasonal Funko Pops, I've had the wonderful pleasure of like incorporating them into like seasonal decor
Oh,
because part of my channel I do also like to do little overlays in the background, change it up, and that's another way of displaying the collection that doesn't really get a lot of attention throughout the year. So yeah, I totally understand about the the Spider-Man in his little ugly sweater. I'm all about that.
yeah, I think I bought it in like March. It's like, what are we doing? What are you doing? But
He
it's
was
like
$4.
I
Okay,
okay,
he
yeah,
was.
no, but like it was at a convention and the people their setup was like, "Oh, we're going out of business. We have these Funkos." I'm like, "I'm getting them all." And I saw Spider-Man. I was like, "Obviously, I'm going to buy an $8 Funko. obviously. And then I got home and I was like, why did I like even but like my husband was like, "Do you need all of those Funkos?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." So you're the only person that knows this. That I look at that one and I'm like, "Why did I like could have bought an $8 burger or something?"
Oh yeah, I could. I definitely could have fed myself a million times over with what I've invested in my collection.
So, is there anything in your collection? Well, you do Funkos, you do pins, but are you eyeing something else to start collecting? Like, is anything catching your eye?
I really have to like limit myself only because my I live in a one bedroom in Brooklyn. Okay, and it's I I'm really grateful for my apartment. I'm grateful to have any kind of living situation in the city, but at the same time, it's like space is so limited. So like if I
Yeah.
really wanted to delve into like those beautiful sculptures that they have, the
Yes.
dioramas, I would love to like go. I always salivate and have the biggest envy when I see people's like man caves or their geek, den. It's all like LED'd out, and they have their statues on display, well lit. It's gorgeous, so until I can get a basement of my own, I will have to like refrain from getting those beautiful ones because I love those the Marvel ones with all the details. Like there's that like the Deadpool versus uh help me out here.
He's been against
Kane.
the whole Marvel
I
universe.
know he's at war with everyone. uh, the Scott Summers son, Cable,
Oh,
Cable, Cable.
Cable. I wanted
Sorry.
to say Bishop. I'm like, that's not even the right color person. Like,
They adopted him. Um, yeah, yeah. There's a wonderful mold of them like having a little face off, and so like I think some of those more like detailed statuettes I would love to add to the collection down the line, but for now it's limited. I outside of the Funkos, outside of the pins, I'm a big Loungefly collector. This is my little Stranger Things right here, bag here for the
oh, I
summer.
have one lounge fly, and I'm like, "Ugh, how did people not have them? They're so cute. I love that Stranger Things
I
one.
have over 60 in my collection.
Ah, 60. I have one.
I am like I'm close to the 100 mark for sure when it comes to
Oh
lounge
my
flies.
gosh,
Yeah,
that
that
is
is one thing that I was
amazing.
not expecting to take off because at first when lounge flies were coming out, they were really kind of marketed towards females and the bags and their
Yeah.
their mini backpacks. When I wear one, it looks like a boulder with a little with a little sack on top of it. It's like what's going on over there? But like it just looks like so funny. It's like that fat guy in a little suit, Chris
Yeah.
Harley. That's how sometimes it feels when I'm wearing one. I'm like, oh my gosh, they got these extenders.
It feels the same for me too. I'm like I feel like Dora the
Door-
Explorer with her little
yeah,
backpack.
yeah. That whole backpack meme like took off for sure for Loungefly. But but yeah, what I really liked about them, what really got me into them was they have a great art team, and their their creative director, whoever is in charge of their department, does a really good job of like taking something as mundane as a backpack and really like molding it into something that is very pleasing to the eye. And of course, you love whatever fan of whether it be Stranger Things, Disney, or they've expanded so much different things, Marvel, of course, and it's like, oh, okay, this is like wearable art. So,
Yeah.
and I have like they're on my wall and they're like in rows, and my partner looks at me like I'm just like missing a couple brain cells, which they're not. They're not wrong. I did do a lot of partying when I was younger, but
It's it's so hard for is your partner a nerd by any chance?
they're older a little bit, so they're not really like as
Yeah.
hardcore into things, but they appreciate it to an extent. They they appreciate it. Like they're not like anti anything. They're really just anti
Mhm.
like filling up the space. It's like where are we putting that? That's the question that comes up a
Y-
lot. Where's that going? Where are you gonna store that? So I've made a new rule. Like
Yeah.
anything I bring in, I have to depart with something. So that's kind of how I've justified it. And it's fine because you love your collection, and then you love them for a time, and then you just give them a new life because honestly if it's just been sitting behind like 3 rows deep, then you really didn't care about that pop to be, or it served its purpose in the time. You know what I'm saying? It gave you that joy in the
Yeah.
moment. You had a great time, you loved it, and then now you can let it go because you want to bring something new into the collection, and it just rotates. And honestly, I think when you call your collection like that, it gives you a more discerning taste. It grows with you, and B, you're not just like in a bunch of clutter. You're not on a episode of Hoarders.
That's really cool. I could never, ever, ever, but that's really great. My whole collection, I look at it as like, my daughters, it's all going to go to them.
Right.
They're tiny little nerds themselves, but right now they don't get to touch it. It's
Right.
mine. But someday it'll be all theirs. My husband has more interesting rule. He's like, every time you bring something else home, then I get to put something out too. And he has a weird thing about kitchen appliances. He wants our entire kitchen, like a blender, a toaster, an oven, everywhere. I'm like, oh, it makes my eye crunch a little bit. So I'm like, all right, he got me. So now I'm very choosy. Very, very choosy.
Yeah, we don't need 2 air fryers.
You know what? No, we don't. I don't think we need the one. It doesn't have to be out. It could just be somewhere else. But no.
My partner fought me hard because I was like, no, I don't need an air fryer either. I barely even use the oven. Like, what am I gonna? And they're like, no, we'll change your life. Okay, it did change my life.
There's so many things you can make in it, and it makes me mad because it's so big. Like, you could make s'mores dip.
Oh, yum.
You can make bacon in it.
Yes.
Wings. Reheat French fries. Like, okay, like I'm sure you're supposed to use it for like healthy shit, but like here I am just saying you can make s'mores dip with it.
As after we're done with this, I'm gonna put a salmon in there, but that's more for like my personal health reasons. But so our partner's like kind of on the same wavelength when it comes to that. So, and I can imagine because you do have a family, you have children,
Yeah.
everything, and I always find that dynamic really interesting when it comes to collecting because I would just like there's no way I'd leave the stuff out with children
No.
around.
No, you can't. My kids, one is on the spectrum and the other is 2. And both of them chew like a freaking dog. They chew on everything. So all of my stuff is like shoved into our room with like all on the wall. It's taken up every bit of it. And like every time I put something new up, I'm like, oh, this is going to be it. This is going to be the one. This is the one that break the camel's back. I just know it. This little Moon Knight Funko's it.
Oh yeah, I get such anxiety when I even like when I've gone to a convention and I've gotten a pop or I've gotten a grail and I have to like take it out of the box, to showcase it because I'm an inbox collector for the most part. I think within the past 2 years, I've gradually gotten comfortable with being out of box collecting or displaying. But
that makes me so happy for you. All of mine are out of boxes. So when I find someone who also does it, like when I do an unboxing video, I have to like tell on the video like, okay, I'm gonna open it. It'll be okay. Because my first one I did, someone was like, why'd you take it out? I'm like, I'm gonna keep it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sell it. I want to look at it.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, I'm. Like I said, it's a gradual process. I'm not completely converted. I save all the boxes. They're like,
You saved them?
Heck yes. They have artwork on it. Like,
oh, true.
So
if they have the artwork, I'll keep
artwork,
that.
And like as a collector, that I am a sucker for the sticker. Like they got me, gal.
Yes.
And that's a RuPaul Drag Race reference.
Oh, trust me,
So
we love RuPaul
yes,
in this neck of the woods.
Yes. And it's not like I even keep up with it. I always just watch the recaps because I just am too busy living life to really like commit. But it's like my life is that I can go to a bar right now and see a Ru girl if I wanted to. Like it's not hard. But anyhow,
that's so cool.
That's the privilege of being in New York is that a lot of the contestants on RuPaul Drag Race are from New York. And they won't let you forget it, and and they do shows here in Brooklyn. They do shows in Hell's Kitchen in Manhattan, Chelsea, everywhere. So there's not a lack of having access to Rue Girls in the city and seeing one of their shows. But I was saying
Wow.
that the only collection that I really have pulled out on display is my Stranger Things Funko Pop collection, which is that combined with the Funko sodas as well. I just bought.
Those are so
Yeah,
cute. I like them, but I can't jump in. I'm like, no, I
I
know.
was totally anti Funko sodas to begin with. Like I was like,
Uh huh.
this is enough. Like you don't need all that. But I hyperfixate a lot, so so and I was telling my friends who they have a podcast called Skull Rock Broadcast, and it's a Stranger Things podcast. And the reason I kind of like delved into Stranger Things, not to switch subjects so quickly, but
Oh,
is
please
because
do it. This is a very ADHD podcast.
I've never been diagnosed. But I'm like, should I take a test?
You probably I'm gonna tell you
Probably something's
you
going on.
might. As soon as you said I hyperfixate, I was like,
you
you might
know?
be little familiar.
I definitely hyperfixate, and I was really getting into spooky season at one point, and it kind of like the algorithm shared with me my friend's page called Steady Stories, and it really highlights the relationship between Steve Harrington and Eddie Munson in fan fiction, and it
Oh.
pairs those two together, and
Hmm.
I was like, okay, and because I'm all about queer content, like I need more of it. I can't stop consuming it because there's not that much of it to begin with. But
Yeah.
so when that kind of like brought to the foray, and I kind of like started delving into the fan fiction, then I started seeing the fan art, and then I started seeing the forums of people obsessing over it as well, and like seeing how much of a following that actually has, as niche as it is. I was like, oh, this is a thing. And then it inspired me to go back to watch Stranger Things, the series. And then it just all blew up from there. And my channel was inundated with Stranger Things merchandise. And, then like my Disney fans were just like, what's going on here? What the hell is all this? I came to see some Mickey Mouse, and you're over here showing, Steve Harrington. It was like everything Steve Harrington. And I was like, well, that's just what happens. Like, this is the new thing now that I'm into. So bear with me.
Stranger Things is so odd because you'll just be like, you know what? Everyone's talking about it. I'll give it a chance. And like 3 episodes in, you're like, I need all of it. I'm upset. This is who I am
Yeah.
now.
And I love, as someone who's from Southern California in such close proximity to LA and film and, TV production and just celebrity culture, growing up, that it was always a thing for me. Like my stepdad, his cousin is Ving Rhames. So, and if no one knows Ving Rhames is, he's the guy in Pulp Fiction that guess anyway, but go to Pulp Fiction, look up Ving Rhames, and then you'll know what happened to him. So, but that's just my people's point of reference. Anyway, so he's a Hollywood actor, well-to-do. But anyhow, I just love all that stuff. So when Stranger Things drops, like like the cultural touchstones, like Star Wars references or ET or whatever like that, and they just because it's the '80s and a lot of pop culture was just like birthed during the '80s, and since then, over 40 plus years now, that has been like the point of reference a lot of people go to at this point. I mean, they can highlight 50s, the 60s, 70s, but that is so far removed from who is actually making culture now. You know what I'm saying? Like even though the
Yeah.
comic series, like comics go back all the way, to the '60s as well. You have the golden age of comics, all that good stuff. But our point of references is like the '80s on for the majority of it, in my opinion. Someone can always like say you are totally talking out your ass, but
But it makes sense because who are the people who are creating these projects? Are people who are in their 30s and 40s who they're in their prime of content creating, like Stranger Things, the actors of Stranger Things. We're all old. Like,
yeah, we're that generation like that we looked up to when we were children now. Like that's us now.
yeah, and I think with every decade it goes up one. So like last decade, I think it was the 70s that those people were creating and making all these things, and now it's just going to keep going, and in 10 years when it's the people from the 90s doing it, I'm stressed how excited I am.
Yeah, yeah. Bring back all that like future tech wave craziness
Yes.
that was going on with the dolphins on the screen, but like when Lisa Frank was doing like their Loungefly collection, I was just like, oh my gosh, Lisa Frank, like this is,
She did come back really, really strong for like 3 months
yeah, she
because
had
I
like a
was,
blip for sure.
yeah, like she came back so, so hard and then dipped. And it was like, what did you do? Because now in like 10 years, we're all going to be like, where did she go? And then she'll do it again to us. And we're all just wearing brightly retro colors. And then everyone's looking at us like, what are you doing? Like,
It's
you know what? I didn't
hilarious.
know I was upset about that until now.
Just me bringing up people's trauma as usual. Um, okay, open my mouth again. Great.
It's the strangest superpower you have, but I dig it.
I know, forcing everyone to face their trauma. Um, no, so yeah, so that all encompasses. So like, I just think I enjoy Stranger Things as the microcosm that it is because of all the references and like what the Duffer Brothers are inspired by. You know, they're not shy about telling you like who they pull their references from and like
Yeah.
why they're so inspirational to them and where it comes from. I saw, we have Stranger Things the first shadow happening on Broadway right now, which was a show that they debuted in the West End in London that we never thought that was actually going to come to the States. And it's apparently the best version of it ever. There's been some rewrites to the show and to kind of make it more in line canonically with the series. And before I would just not care. To me, like I'm always like late to the game on everything because I just really try not to be that person that's like over involved, because I appreciate multiplicity in people. Like I like layers to people. I like to know that there's just more to you than just your one thing. Like I need to know like can I talk to you about certain things? Can I not talk to you about certain things? Do you know to like I need to know like the person as a whole. Like I understand like we're friends because we share this one commonality, but let me know what else do you like, and like expand my mind, expand my world. Like I need to know. So part of that is like not me being like, I'm better than this. I don't want to like be involved or whatever. It's really just like to save myself from being overwhelmed by people's uh, super fandom.
I feel that on an emotional level because I am also late to everything because it's like when it's super hyped up, everyone's excited. They're like, "Oh my god, this is it! This is amazing!" I'm like, "It's probably not that good. Like, calm down.
Number one hater
Maybe
right
I'll
here.
check it out." Yeah, right. Oh my god, like I am the worst at it, and it's so nice to find someone else because it's like maybe I'll check it out later, maybe I won't. I did it with Stranger Things,
Yeah, same.
and then I watched it like months and months later after everyone else would
Yep.
the excitement died down.
Yes,
And
that's exactly the same thing for me.
when I yeah, and when I watched it, I was like, "Oh my god, guys, have you checked it out?" Like everyone's like,
Yeah. The funny thing about Stranger Things itself is that it has been like a 10-year process to like get to the finale. So Tudum just recently had their like big old thing in Los Angeles where they showcased all their new properties coming out with like little teasers, which I was so excited to see for Wednesday, especially because
"Yes."
the grandmama is played by Joanne Lumley, and I love her. She is an icon. She's from Absolutely Fabulous. If no one's ever seen it, if anything that you do this Pride Month, any listeners, people who are seeing this, go watch Absolutely Fabulous on YouTube. Okay, there's a series of clips. You don't even have to watch the show; just watch highlights of it, and it showcases Joanne Lumley as Patty Stone, and she's just a terrible person. But she is amazing. The comedic brilliance behind this woman. If you don't know, like speaking of like our age, like she was one of the ants in James and the Giant Peach, And
I understand that one. Yes.
I'm like, let me go from super creepy to like, let me give you something to go off of.
No, you didn't sound creepy at all. Because, like, I haven't seen, you said Always Fabulous?
It's called
I
Absolutely
haven't,
Fabulous
absolutely
or
fabulous.
Ab
I've
Fab.
never seen it. But,
Oh.
like, I know exactly what you mean of loving the worst character. I
Because
get
it
it.
allows you
You
to
say
like
no
scratch that
more.
itch, right? Because if you're not really the
Yes.
worst character in the world, because you have like a moral compass,
Yeah.
it's nice to see other people play out the worst parts of us, because you're just like, okay, like yes, if I really was not attached to whatever I'm attached to now, that probably would be something I do too.
Yes, it's like seeing someone play out and live those intrusive thoughts that's in your head. Like today, I took my kids to the pool and I was like, I want to push that woman in the pool so bad. I didn't know who she was, but I was like, I wish I was that person that would do it because I want to know what it feels like. And then you have just a horrible character and you're like, that bitch would have done it.
She definitely, yeah, no, yeah, so good. Like a drunken fashionista,
I
like they
love
have
it.
nothing going on in life, but like trying to like be young, and they're clearly not young. And her partner in that is the actress who voices the fairy godmother in the Shrek movies. So that actress and
Oh.
her are in the show together. And
Oh.
so I was just super excited to see her casting. Like I literally like was the Leonardo DiCaprio Leonardo DiCaprio meme of a pointing. Like when I saw her, I was like, oh my gosh, Joanne Limley! Like this is so funny. Like, and I love that in this new series of Wednesday, like she did not like have to be like a crone looking person. Like they didn't make her into the grandmama of like the past, or like the long bushy hair or whatever like that. No, they
Yeah.
made her like a really refined woman, and it just is so beautiful to watch. And I'm so excited for that. And Lady Gaga killed it with her performance, uh, and it was just wonderful. But Stranger Things, sorry, did release their timelines of when their final series is going to come out, and it's going to be around Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Eve. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of discourse right now saying that, you know, is this a great idea? Because, people do have lives.
Yeah.
And not everyone has the ability to just like sit and binge during those times. And then there's always a talk about, well, they always change the dates at some point, or it won't actually be that. But even though season 3 came out on July 4th. So
Yeah, they're not changing these dates. They put them, if they set it for a holiday, they have taken that holiday off for these days. It's
absolutely.
coming out in those
Yeah, it
days.
is gonna. I in my heart of hearts, I totally believe that they will stick to that schedule, and I think that is fine. But at the same time, it kind of puts us creators in a pinch because you want to be that first person that gets out your thought
Yeah.
right away about what's going on. But so now you're going to dedicate time to watch the series during the holidays, and then you're going to have to dedicate time still away to put in your 2 cents about what you just witnessed and like get it out there. And it just becomes like this is really tough.
It
And it's a totally
it
first world problem.
it is, but it was also, I pay for binging. We have circled back completely to scheduled programming that
Yes.
I was like, I should have just kept cable
Yes.
because you have it on 3 different dates. First of all, I'm pretty booked solid on those days, man. Like I got things happening.
Yeah.
You didn't have to do that. Second of all, you 100% did it so you could have the November and December and January subscriptions
Correct.
because you did a New Year's. So rude, but I respect the hustle. But also,
Netflix.
I'm so ADHD. I'm so ADD. Like I'll watch the one on Thanksgiving and I'll be like, okay, now I just have to wait for the next one. And by that time it rolls around, I'm like, I don't even know if I like it anymore.
The fatigue.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. The fatigue.
yes, yeah. And it's just like, why would you do that? That's so rude. I liked when they did it on 4th of July because I was super pregnant and I was like, I'm not going out. It's too hot. And I was like, oh, and I have
This makes
this. But
sense.
then they said the part 2 of that will come out in a few months or a month. And I was like, I don't even like you guys that much. Like, you're not that important to me.
Yeah. So it will be a very interesting time, and I'm very much a person that likes to anticipate seeing how people react and how
Hmm.
they navigate through things like that. And I think that's just how the funny part of being in fandom is just getting to see like how other people are interacting and expressing themselves or consuming and like regurgitating everything and giving their spin on things. That's what makes me kind of hopeful that even though people are going to be sad, that the conversation is still going to keep going. And it's a great marketing ploy on their part as well. And it's like, okay, well, you've just totally taken over fall winter 2025. Kudos to you. You know
They really did
the
take all of our free time we're gonna get from work,
I
from
commented,
family, and you took it
yeah,
away.
took it away. So it's just like, well, I that time in New York, it's well, the weather here has been wackadoo since forever, since I've moved here. Like it's just kind of unpredictable. But if you don't want to be outside because it's -5, like perfect, just be bundled at home and just watch Stranger Things. And also, it kind of like I think will I don't know, it will bring more people into the fandom because they have the downtime and they have until now till November to
True.
catch up if they were completely removed from it. And I probably would have been in that same boat if I was not so obsessed with the relationship between Steve and Eddie.
So with season 5, what are you hoping to see out of it? Because personally, I want to see Eddie come back. I would kill for that beautiful little soul to come back.
He was such a beautiful little soul, and it's wonderful to see the Joseph Quinn just like skyrocket from that little role.
I
It's
know. And you know it's because of that one scene with the guitar. And that was some of the best anything I've seen in so long is that entire it was basically a music video.
yeah, him on the trailer,
Like
play Master
yeah,
Puppets.
it's
Yeah,
I I don't know how often I do it. It's a little too often, but I go and look up the Master Puppets video from Stranger Things cuz it's so good.
it's really good, and it's just again like it's just really yes. I would love to see them like do the cast theory where Eddie does come back as Cass as one of Vecna's generals. Um, that would be totally fun. I would say I actually don't have anything that I'm really looking forward to. I'm looking forward to them tying it all up and letting us
Yeah.
know, okay, this was how this played out. And for me, it's because my introduction to this specific fandom is so niche in the sense that like I really only got into it because I was obsessing over the fan fiction I was reading on Steve and Eddie. And I don't think people really understand that when I tell them I'm a Stranger Things fan. I mean, I have a whole video of showing off my Stranger Things collection, and I explained at the beginning of that video that I'm only into Stranger Things because of this queer pairing. And I understand, and for people to like really grasp what that means, I think is really different in the sense that heteronormativity is the world we live in. I have to grapple with the fact that I'm a minority, and I'm not getting political, I promise. But I'm
No, no,
just
you're
trying.
fine.
I'm just trying to
No, no, no. I
explain
don't think
perspective.
sexual orientation is political.
Oh,
I think it's who you are. So please, by all
well,
means.
I wish that sentiment was felt throughout the rest of the world. Um, what I would say, what I'm saying is that the narrative, how everything is structured narrative to us, is from the perspective of heterosexuals. So this season itself will be structured from a narrative of heterosexuals, and I will not be super invested in the same way somebody who is heterosexual experiences the world, experiences this content, this fandom, this series, because I enjoy it for what it is. So like I've read so many like they're called quote unquote fix it fix where Eddie doesn't die, and they have stories where Eddie and Steve live happily ever after, and they
Yeah.
deal with like the trauma of their experiences in the upside down and their relationships with the kids and everybody else, their friends, and how that it goes. So like I've in my head already seen like what happens after season 4. So because due to the amazing different writers, who are also obsessed with these characters. And so I really won't really be spectating in the sense of like, am I going to be disappointed? Because I don't have that level of like anticipation of it to like it needs to land, like they need to land the plane, or like all this time was wasted because I didn't get the result that I wanted, you know. So as as someone who appreciates Steve Harrington as a character and experience like what they're all going to, I've ever since seeing First Shadow on Broadway, which goes into like Henry Creel in his origin story. I'm now very interested in like what happens with Vecna. Like I think that's a more interesting narrative at this point. It's like, okay, what's his end game at this point? Because now
Yeah.
we've seen his origin, where it started. Now we can relate that back to season 4, and then and now like the pieces start falling in together. So I really am happy to see how that whole series sunsets as it is, but I don't have any like high expectations for it to like you must make sure that I am not going to be a weeping mess on the floor by the end of it. And my heart goes out to all the Stranger Things fans that are going to be bleeding hearts over this. At
Yeah,
the end of it, like they've invested so
because
much time and energy.
I'm like expecting 11 to die.
Okay.
So like I'm like, man, people are about to be pissed. But also my question is, why does Vecna have kind of a sexy vibe? Like
Let me tell
he
you.
has no right to, but like it's there and you're like, uh-huh.
Are we
Okay.
talking
Like
about like orderly Vecna, or are we talking about post upside down Vecna?
post. I don't know what it is. And I remember other people bringing it up and me thinking, oh my God, it's not me. Oh, thought it was like
Well,
a kink coming out that I didn't know about.
hey, I mean, Lisa Frankenstein was a success for a reason. The girlies were loving Lisa Frankenstein. Okay, cool. You can love a monster, okay? The Shape of Water does exist, okay? So I totally am not like I don't like ever funk up anyone's like interest like that. Like go for it. Like I'm not even gonna tell you what like
like
piques
like
my.
I don't yeah, I don't kink shame.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
I do kink judge.
Heavily.
But in my head. But like there's been some that I'm just like, I'll pray for you, I guess. I don't know. That's just so strange.
Yeah, there's some things like I wish I didn't know about, and I'm like, God, why is
Yeah.
that in my brain now?
Yeah, cuz you can't unlearn something. You
No,
can't unhear it.
you
And
can't.
like and if a person tells you like this is what I'm into, that's all I see you as now. Like you might be a beautiful amazing person. You might do charity, but I still know what you like to
Yeah,
do
yeah,
and it's not welcomed.
yeah. And I think that's like another thing when I was admitting to the internet and the world. Excuse me, hair in my
Mhm.
mouth. There was um, that I, you know, like reading like fan fiction and Stranger Things fan fiction. It does put you in a vulnerable space because you are kind of letting people into behind the curtain in a sense. Because on the surface level, we all like what's out there in the sense like for at face value. But when
Mhm.
you start like going behind, like digging down deeper and like the rabbit holes we all like dig out for ourselves, we're just like, oh, some people are like they take it to another level that I was not prepared for. And I would like to just say
Yeah.
right now, that I'm not taking it to those levels, okay, people? I have my limits. I am, I am, I am super squeaky clean.
Like there is some fan fiction that makes me very nervous to read because I'm like, where are we going? What? It's starting to get stressful here. And sometimes it goes that way, and you're like, you know what? Nope. Nope. You
Yeah,
respectfully
I
no.
always look at.
Immediately no.
Yeah, I'm like constantly like policing those tags. I'm like, what's in this? Give me the content warning.
Or reading the
Yeah,
reading the comments under it, and you're like, This looks safe. I look
Yeah.
I look okay. It's okay.
Yeah. I know. It's always kind of like, when am I comfortable like having someone, a stranger on the train, peeking over my shoulder, looking at my phone screen?
Yes.
And I think part of that is like has to do with my upbringing. I did grow up in a religious household, and I kind of like have an innate apprehension to certain things because of that upbringing. And at the same time, I have there's a part of me that's completely uninhibited because of that upbringing. When but then as you get older, you can find a balance and you understand that there's nuance to things. And I think that's what sometimes people in fandom, when you're talking about toxicity, people are missing nuance. They're missing the idea that there's a gray area. They're missing the idea that not everything can be one thing. So don't put all your eggs in one basket, because listen, they're not going to hatch if the way you think they are. Some of those eggs are going to go bad. So I just think that there's a great everything in moderation. Is what I say, and it's because of that I'm that I'm actually still alive. because because growing up as a queer teen in Texas was very interesting, and in I
Oh, I'm sure.
yes, I was in the Dallas area, in this town called Mesquite, Texas, and I went to a high school there that was next to a cornfield and a cow pasture. So, and for me, fandom and fan fiction specifically were those outlets I could express myself and be in my own world without feeling, any type of sense of true loneliness. I actually credit my friends that I made in high school, that really just made me be like one of the guys, or just one of the people that just hanging out. That I was just I was a social butterfly. I've always been a person that try to be friends with everybody from the get go. I know that's annoying for some people, but like I'm not. For me, it's like I don't have beef with you until you make me have beef with you. So until then, like all I know is that we can kiki, we can connect, we can have a good time until you make it a problem. But you're not. It's not going to come from me. So they were really good about like just understanding that. Oh, he's doesn't he doesn't have boyfriends. He doesn't get to have that prom experience like the way other people do. And I honestly don't regret that, because I think there's that horrible um, scene where I like people refer to not horrible scene, but just because it's the Flash. I shouldn't say that. Sorry, creators who put your heart and soul into that movie. Where he has that conversation.
It was pretty bad though.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. The CGI babies were just they took me out off the bat.
when they put the baby in the microwave, I was like, I'm out. I'm done.
That was for me. I was like,
I've seen it all.
okay, this is the movie we're making. All right.
It was just so many choices went into there, and so many people said yes. But
And Bruce Wayne just tells us like like those experiences are what make us. There's nothing broken about you, and I would love if that outside of that context of that film, that that message would kind of just like be more amplified to queer youth and to people who numb their pain with very destructive things. So I I don't have any regrets of like anything that's happened in my life. I've been out since I was 15. So now I can say that unfortunately, or not fortunately, however you want to think about your relationship with aging, I've been out and living my truth over half of my life. And
yeah,
there's a lot of people that say they can't say that. And I really attest that to the people around me who supported me and also let me be. And I also attribute that to the resilience that I was able to cultivate for myself. I'm really not a person that like takes a backseat to things. I'm someone like if I want something, I'm going to go for it. And I don't. There's nothing like if the worst thing someone can say is no, is like okay, then you just move on and you press forward. And a lot of people let no stop them from pursuing whatever they want to pursue because they can't get past that uh, point of rejection or whatnot. But when your existence has been rejected, since you know the fear of coming out, the family dynamics, how that it leads to so many things negatively that you've seen, read, heard. Um, it really just puts you in a position of like I can sink or swim. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna choose to swim and create something else for myself. So I don't take any of this lightly as far as like I just like to live in gratitude essentially. But
You're blessed.
I wish I was blessed and booked with something, but no, I really do feel like yes, I do. I feel like I do have a blessing of favor on me, but it's
Mm-hmm.
because I also put in the work. So
Exactly. Yeah.
you have to like give something, and not everything's just gonna be handed to you. So especially if you are in a position where you don't set the rules, you're playing by other people's rules, and I love that fandom gives you that solace when you feel like you're alone or you feel like you can't do anything. There's characters out there that inspire you to want to be better or that it will be okay. At the end of the day, if these people can get through it, then you can muster up the courage as well. And as cheesy as that can sound, it really is something that I would want to relate to all LGBTQ plus IA two spirit youth. And that jumble, oh my god. I
I just say plus. I can't do
when
it.
they added the two spirit, I was like, okay, yes, work.
I, when they added it, I was like, you know what? Brent, keep them
give it
coming.
up. Like
I'ma still say plus though, because I know me. No way.
I,
I can't do it.
I feel like I'm at a funny age because, in the sense, when it comes to like queer history, because or modern queer history, I should say, because I have a generation above me that these people obviously had so much hardships to deal with, and then I have a generation under me where they are kind of clueless to how they got all their rights and their privileges, and because of that,
Yeah.
we have a lot of infighting in our community. So, and I think people need to know that every community does have infighting. No community is a monolith. And for queer people and specifically, that tug and pull of is really what makes progress like slow down. And like we can be so much more far ahead if we can just like squash our internal squabbling, and I think that goes for everybody, right? But for queer people, especially during Pride Month, when we're seeing that companies are taking funds away or other Pride events are actually you know divesting themselves from companies that say, listen, you came out, you don't want to support us, so you're not invited to the party, like we don't need your money, we can and shout out to Twin Cities Pride. They kicked out Target from their Pride, and
As they should
they
have.
had a fifty
That's
thousand
awesome.
dollar $50,000 deficit. Like they don't have $50,000 anymore. But then the community rallied together. Now they have over $100,000 to replace that
Aww.
$50,000. And I think people need to remind themselves like when you have community, when you engage with your community, when you build bridges, when you're plugged in and you actually involve yourself, you can make up the difference, you know. And queer people have $1.2 trillion of spending to our names. That's a large chunk of money, okay? $1.2 trillion.
That's, that's a lot of money. My God.
Can you imagine the great things we could do for ourselves if we could just like get past ourselves? Everyone gets
Yeah.
in their own way at the end of the day. Um, but it's there, and we can use it for good, or we can continue to have this conversation year after year. But that aside, I have really just been really appreciative of everything that's happening in the sense that we have allies like you and your channel or your podcast and how you're uplifting queer voices. And that really stuck out to me when I saw you on Threads. That's that's how my first introduction to you is seeing you on Threads, and they just went from there where like now I'm watching all your videos. What?
Well, thank you.
And I say watch because like YouTube is my medium, so like a lot of my time is spent on YouTube, and
Hmm.
and that's another thing is like I'm not watching a lot of shows or anything because I'm just stuck on YouTube content. I I like to see the back and forth, the discourse, like of it all, as like why is it like that? And it's like you feel like an anthropologist. At the end of the day, you're like these humans, man.
Oh my
But your
goodness.
allyship really does make a huge difference, and you've made such an impact in all those people's lives that you've had on your podcast, and I hope you know
Oh
that.
my God.
You really have,
Thank
because
you.
like not everything is intersectional. You can't get anywhere alone. So having people amplify your voice or giving you a platform is like everything. Because a lot of those people in the early parts of their queer experience were not given a voice. They were shut down. They were told to be quiet. They were told to hide parts of themselves. They were told not to express themselves. So when people like you give them that platform, they're just like lighting up, and I see it in their eyes. I hear it in their voice inflections. They're just so happy to be talking to you, and just to be like able to like geek out with you, person to person, because it 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 recognizes them. Like I see you, I recognize you as a person, and I want to hear from you. When they've had so many people tell them like they don't want to hear them speak at all, like a little Victorian child.
Yeah. When I first asked, I actually asked on Threads first because that's just such an amazing community. When I first asked, there was a lot of political discourse going on pertaining to the LGBTQ plus communities, and it was like, you know, I always look at it like if we all want to coexist together, we all want to succeed together, and progress together, and move forward, we all have to be allies of each other.
Hmm.
So I'm an ally of everything.
Right.
So, as a person, I'm very, very aware of how much privilege I have. I am a straight white woman living in the United States of America, and I have way more privilege than most people. And you just kind of start to think like, well, what can I do? I mean, what am I gonna say? Hey guys, be nice to the gays. Like, well, that's not what is that gonna do?
They're like, shut up,
So
woman.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, and
damn
they're like,
it.
oh, maybe I don't have that much privilege. Still a damn woman.
Sorry.
You're fine. That was hilarious.
No. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, you're fine.
See what
But
I
yeah,
said? I told you.
it was amazing. Please don't ever change, ever. But yeah, I think in this day and age, we should all just be kind of trying to do what we can for the other person. If you have the ability to give someone a platform, you have the ability to make someone feel better about themselves. If you have a large following, make be the change that people are so desperate to see,
Yeah.
because no one should feel the way that they feel right now. I'll never be able to understand how that feels. I will never understand someone hating me because of who I love, what I identify as. I will never get it. But the most I can do is try to understand it from all of these stories. And I feel like I've learned a lot from so many different people. Like, romantic?
Yes.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
I just thought maybe I'm just not into the romance stuff, but it's a thing.
Right.
And like there's so many things I've learned, and it's just incredible. These people are amazing and they deserve to be heard.
Yes, and it's just a wonderful thing that you're doing, and being part of that sandwich where like I have some like in the generation before and generation after, it's like I too had to get comfortable with, even as a gay man, cis gay man. Like I don't have any qualms about my gender. I don't have any dysmorphia, nothing like that. I have body dysmorphia, obviously, but
Don't we all though?
it's like obviously I have that, but outside of that, I also had to learn to respect people's pronouns, to start using pronouns, or just having the idea that the community is expanding, and we're recognizing other people, and there are people in our even own community that don't want that to happen, that they just want to like
yeah.
keep it to, LGBT, and even like go to war at the T's. I was like, and this is my issue, is that you don't know your history, honey. You must educate yourself. You need to know where this began, where it started, because again, your privilege will not protect you. We look. You got to look at the totem pole. We are not near the top, boo boo. So, let everyone be. And that's the whole thing, is just letting everyone live their life, live their truth, how they see fit. If they're not harming you, then that's it. There's no conversation outside of that. So,
I couldn't have said it better myself. So, as we are wrapping up, this has been amazing with you. You have to come back because I love you. You're
oh
amazing.
my gosh, thank you so much.
You're welcome. So, where can our listeners find you?
You can find me on YouTube at capital YT underscore up with the sun. And you can find me on Instagram at insta underscore up with the sun. And the only reason it's called up with the sun because there is a dawn to look forward to. Okay, we're not in eternal darkness. So come and join and subscribe if you see something that you like. I'd really appreciate it. We're trying to get to 1,500 subscribers, so I would really appreciate it. I know, even though right now I'm not really uploading, but that seems to be increasingly changing as New York City gets much more busier. We didn't even get a chance to talk about that. I have Brooklyn Comic Con this Sunday. I have New York Comic Con in October. Plenty of content to come, so please come and enjoy.
So, wherever you are listening or watching this episode, just look in the show notes and you will find all of the different ways, all of the links you can keep up with Juan. Thank you for listening to this episode of Vigilante Vibes. Wherever you're listening to this episode, click that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my amazing guests like Juan or any future episode. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a marvelous night.